Welcome to afrimind. Today we're going to have a conversation with Yomi Jemibewon, one of the founding partners of Cardinal Stone, a world-class African investment bank headquartered in Lagos, Nigeria. Yomi runs the principal investments division within the bank, which invests in high-growth companies in Africa. And today we're going to have several conversations. Firstly, we're going to talk about some of the peculiar challenges in setting up a world-class institution in Africa. And then secondly, we're going to go into Yomi's turf and talk more about some of the things he looks for when he's trying to invest in portfolio companies. And we're going to also have a discussion on some of the challenges, the unique challenges that companies face when they're trying to raise funds in Africa. So thank you once again, and welcome to the conversation.
You look at businesses a lot, and you decide which businesses, which portfolio companies to invest in. The question is, how do you decide, how do you pick winners? So how do you pick which portfolio companies to invest in? And for the ones that you decide not to invest in, what are the key mistakes that they typically make?
Okay, so first of all, our approach is actually a little bit different from what you described.
Okay.
A lot of firms, what they do is they sit back and they receive pitches.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that right off the bat. We actually decide on what areas we're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we actually develop very detailed thesis on those areas. Now, what happens is, as we're working on developing those theses, we're talking to bankers, we're talking to operators in that sector, we're talking to customers. What happens in some cases is some of those relationships identify people who are looking to incubate or run those kind of businesses,
mm-hmm.
and they introduce them to us.
Yeah.
So we, again, based on our philosophy, we think we need to drive the agenda. We need to be very involved in driving the vision, the direction, how we're going to set the company up. So on day one, we decide and say, what sectors are we interested in and what kind of businesses? And we decide that, and we develop detailed thesis, and we go out and we search. We actually search for those businesses, but also for co-entrepreneurs, because we don't look to run these businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And we believe that Africans are very entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
If all you want to do is start a business and hire people who are not vested, there will be you're gonna hit that sustainability issue at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So we look for people who naturally have an interest and a drive for that area,
mm-hmm.
and who align with us in terms of vision and approach, and we look to bring those people in line with us
mm-hmm.
to co-invest. That's why till date we only have 2 portfolio companies, and we're right now in the process of incubating another 3.
Okay.
And the incubation process takes a year or 2.
Okay.
Right? A typical private equity firm or venture capital firm in a week could go through 10 pitches.
Yeah.
We don't do that. Now, for example, in the process of looking at the agriculture space, one of our staff members, knew somebody who was working in a consumer products company who wanted to leave to go start a business. And she basically did the introduction. And now we're talking and working very closely
mm-hmm.
with that individual to start a business in the agriculture space.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit different in terms of our approach.
Okay.
Now, in terms of what we look for,
mm-hmm.
By and large, we look for a number of things. Number one, businesses that have natural demand-supply imbalance. We don't want to be too innovative. There are already a lot of things that Africans need,
mm-hmm.
and they don't get.
So why? Yeah.
So I don't want to go do something that's a great new idea, and I have to think about.
Mm-hmm.
I look for long lines and high premiums.
Mm-hmm.
So if people are paying times 3 what they should be paying, I'm interested in looking more and saying, you know what, I want to do that, because I just want to build and let them come and get it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to build and convince them that they need it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. Number 2 is we want to go into scalable businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses where, in the first 3 to 5 years of operations will become multi-billion naira businesses, which are $10 million and up, multiples of that in revenue. Why again? We've brought so much to bear here that we believe, and if you look at our approach, very time consuming, very detailed, very focused, we'd rather build things that can become industry leaders in their respective sectors. They can start small, that's fine, but can we scale them up quickly? Africa needs a lot of things now, so that's that. 3, high returns. What does that mean? again, that means a lot of things, but for us, the cash flow margin must be very high for a lot of reasons. One of the questions that I know you're going to ask me today is, how do we look at exit?
Yeah, how do you exit?
We always tell people we don't look at exit the way other private equity firms look at exit. Why? A lot of private equity firms, they've been given some capital for a 10-year period. And within that 10 years, they must invest, grow, and exit. We are Africans looking to grow leading institutions in Africa. So what we do is we look to build long-term sustainable businesses that will be here 20, 30, 40 years. One of the things I said earlier is the biggest problem in Africa is not capital. It's actually the environment to attract capital. Why would we put that environment together, work so hard to put that together, and then get out? When that's what everybody's looking to support, that's what everybody's looking to grow. Particularly when we set up the right vision, the right approach, why do we want to leave that? So the reason why we look for high returns is so that just from the dividend payments alone, we're good. So after 3 years, if you've already gotten your investment capital back and you have this thing that's growing and that's leading the industry and you're getting dividends every year, why do you want to exit? Now, if somebody comes and makes you an offer you cannot refuse, you would consider it. But maybe you will exit partially, and you'll attract that capital to give additional growth. So that's how we look at businesses. We're always looking, to build sustainable businesses over time. Now, a final point, which is very critical to everything I just said, is anything we invest in, we have to be able to have a strong say in the agenda. It's not about having majority, but it's about having a strong say in where things go and how things are done. I'm not going to put, 20% capital investment in a business where all I have is a seat on the board, where if I strongly believe you should not go into this space, and for whatever reason, you think you should go into that space, you just ignore my view, And so we recognize we're small, we're new. Rather than going to a big pie where we can't say much, we would rather stay back and focus on areas where we know we can drive the agenda.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been a pleasure as well.